And what is up, everybody? Welcome to Talking Ball, y'all. I am Cass Hargis, that is Jason Dewey and Lance Lacoste, and welcome to our Week 10 preview show. It is already Week 10. It seems like this season has flown by. For as excited as we are about what's going to happen this week and what's coming next, it's almost a little bit of sadness that the season. That means the season's almost over. But tonight's show, we're still going to preview Week 10. We will do a little more power ratings talk as we start to get a picture of what Week 11 and the first round of the playoffs are going to look like. The brackets will be released this Sunday, so we'll know what everyone's path to the Superdome will look like. There are many big time matchups that don't just have district implications, but have playoff implications, both in terms of getting home games or just simply making the playoffs. But I think maybe one of the biggest matchups of the weekend happens up in District 2, 2A, with the Washita Christian team and the Oak Grove team battling it out for what's essentially going to be a district championship. This is two programs that, when you think of not just, smaller Louisiana high school football, but Louisiana high school football in general, you think about these two teams, Oak Grove and Washita Christian, two teams that are always in the Superdome or in the semifinals, and they get to battle it out for a district championship. Washita Christian comes in still. These numbers are ridiculous, averaging 49.6 points a game, giving up just a touchdown a game at 7 points a game. Oak Grove averaging 38, giving up 19. This is an Oak Grove team that prides itself on physicality and running the football. They're going to have to do that this Friday to beat Washita Christian.
Washita Christian sitting at that 7 seed. That means they are right on the verge of, keeping that first round bye here in the playoffs. And so it's not going to be easy. They got to go on the road and beat Oak Grove and really earn that bye week, right? And so they're led by Luke Vadrine. He is likely going to cross 5,000 passing yards for his career. That is a heck of a number for any quarterback. Be a 3-year starter, throwing for over 5,000 yards. Pretty impressive. Oak Grove, they haven't been as dominant as they've probably been in the past, giving up more points than what we've seen. Like you said, at 19 points per game. But this is still a good football program. I mean, to talk about them as if they're having a down year, they're 7-2, sitting at the 9th spot. So, they have everything they want right in front of them.
This Oak Grove team kind of going a bit under the radar just because Washita Christian has been so dominant, as Cass mentioned, under a touchdown a game in this day and age of so many unique offenses and ways that teams can attack you. Washita Christian has really been impressive. This offense, though, I've talked about it, the way that they're able to be so multiple offensively, and it's not just the dream. Like they have a ton of weapons that they're able to go to an attack with. They can go big. They could go empty, but they like to play with the tight end as well. There's a really good Washita Christian team. Oak Grove, as we talked about, big physical offensive line, and that's going to be what they try to do. They're going to try to bully Washita Christian around, but good luck. It's going to be a tough matchup for this Oak Grove team. I mean, look, nobody's been able to bully this Washita Christian team around all year, and their biggest test of the season was against a Mangum team. And it was maybe a tighter game with the score showed, but they really just kind of pulled away. So it's 35-14 victory in that game. This Washita Christian team is somehow sitting at 7 in Division I Select, but this feels like one of the teams, if not the team to beat in Division IV Select.
Yeah, and you say they're somehow sitting at that 7. That is a shocker to see. They're undefeated, but I think that maybe is a product of their schedule, which the last 3 weeks has gotten a boost in their power ratings. They were lower than that, which was shocking to see. And if you're talking to the coaching staff of Washita Christian, I don't think it matters to them where they're at. I mean, they're just of the opinion that let's just get us in the dance, and it doesn't matter who we play. We're gonna, we have the confidence that we're gonna go out there and play and beat them. And Oak Grove played Calvary in Week 1. They lost 30-7. And they were rolling, and they ran into a Mangum team in which they lost. And I'm pretty sure if Oak Grove wins this game, I think that will make a 3-way tie for the district championship with Washita Christian, Oak Grove, and Mangum. But big time, this is a big rivalry up in North Louisiana. it's going to be a great atmosphere for at Oak Grove. So Washita Christian at Oak Grove this Friday, big time game up in North Louisiana. Down here, closer to where we are in South Louisiana, Meet, the number 10 seed currently in Division Three Select, will host Jules Sumner, the number 3 seed currently in Division Three Select. Jules Sumner looking to cap off a perfect 10-0 season. They are 19-2 going back to last year, which is extremely impressive. Maybe the quietest 19-2 over a 2-year stretch that we've seen. But they have to go to a meet to go win the district championship and solidify them being home maybe throughout the playoffs. A meet with a win can possibly see themselves jump up to get a first round bye, which will be huge. A meet loses 2 games early in the year. They have been rolling ever since, and it seems like that this time of year, a meet plays its best ball. I think it's only fitting that Jules Sumner has to go through a meet to get what they want in a district championship and a perfect season.
You said a 19-2 very quietly. I remember texting you guys around like week 3 when Jules Sumner had that first big win. I want to say it was Franklinton, maybe it was their first like big seed win this year. And just texting you guys. And I think there was another one maybe after that. And I was like, man, it's something about this Jules Sumner team. And then, doing the homework on it, they've been really good for 2 years now. We just kind of overlooked them last year, Yes. And so, but this is going to be a tough one. Like you said, they go on the road, a meet only giving up 9 points a game. So while this Jules Sumner rushing attack has been incredible, this feels like the best defense that they probably have faced all year. And, they're going on the road to face it, makes it a little bit tougher. So it's going to be a fun one.
On the flip side, though, Jules Sumner's no slouch either, 8.1 points a game. So expect a defensive battle. Like, these are 2 teams that like to play hard-nosed defense. They're physical. One of the guys to keep your eyes on this game, though, is Amite offensive lineman Jaden Hayward, 6'7", 380, a really big.
What is that equivalent to in 2A football, Jason? Is that a giant?
It's 3A. It's 3A. So it kind of balances out. So maybe only 6'9", right? Okay. Like maybe only 6'9", 400 in 3A talk. But Legier and Cyprian as well, a 6'6" wide receiver for this Amite team. They've got athletes all over the field, but on the flip side, Jules Sumner, 2 really athletic running backs in Jamin Dyson, who also plays linebacker, really does a great job on both sides of the football, and Jeremiah Brooks, who's a really solid running back. He's shifty. He can make guys miss. But whichever team can come out and execute offensively is going to win this game. Both teams average Amite averages near 30 points a game. So I think this game could kind of go any way, guys. You really don't know which way because the defense is coming in, but because they had both teams have playmakers on offense. It's really going to be interesting to see.
Yeah, and this Jules Sumner rushing attack, that's where they make their hay. That's how they score their points. It's going to be a balance of they want to control the football and control the game, but they also want to hit some explosive plays. And that may mean that Amite's offense is back on the field, but very interesting matchup. These 2 met last year. Jules Sumner won 29-27 last year. So I would expect something very similar this year as well. Another close game. Up in North Louisiana, the district that deservedly so gets talked about all the time, at least from our end of it, and up in North Louisiana, 2-5A has a pair of games which pit 4 powers in the state of Louisiana, 4 the best teams in the state, regardless of classification. That's how they're going to settle their district championship. Number 7 seed in Division I non-select, West Monroe, travels to the current number 1 seed in Division I non-select, Ruston. West Monroe comes in at 7-2, 3-1 in district. Ruston also 7-2, 3-1 in district. This is a big game. I don't know that West Monroe can jump up into the top 2 with a win and be home throughout the playoffs. They can definitely jump into top 4 and be home at least through the quarterfinals. Ruston obviously wants to win, not just for a district championship, but just as important to solidify being at home throughout the playoffs. This is going to be a great atmosphere. The game's being played at Ruston. 2 evenly matched teams, 2 teams that want to do the same thing. They want to beat you up physically, but they're also very explosive. Ruston a little more explosive with the run game. West Monroe, obviously with Christian Ponte out at running back, but Trez Davis out at receiver, the ability to make explosive plays through the air. unbelievable matchup on Friday night.
Yeah, their numbers almost the exact same. Their offenses are averaging in the mid-30s. Their defenses are giving up in the low 20s, almost a mirror image of each other. It seems like the battle of the running backs, Christian Ponte, like you mentioned, Dalen Powell on the Ruston side. He's got a chance to get to 1,000 yards this week on the season. And then they each have their own, weapons at receiver as well, with Ahmad Hudson, the huge tight end, when Trez Davis. We heard Coach Collins talk really highly of him and how much he is to handle, right? And so, yeah, it seems like two very evenly matched teams. I look at the Ruston, they're 7-2, they're the number 1 seed. They played all the out-of-state games. Kind of feels like they got a beat on the system a little bit, huh? What you think?
I think I agree with you. I think that's right. They're game in the system. Listen, they deserve it, but there is a schedule. Little when it comes to power rankings, there is an art to schedule.
Yep.
I mean, look, regardless whether it is or not, like they've been exceptional all year long. Dalen Powell, they're back, only a sophomore, but really has exploded onto the scene. And, he's been a huge part of their offense, but also Jaden Anding at defensive back I would assume they're going to try to match him up against West Monroe's elite receiver in Trez Davis. But, that's not the only weapon offensively that West Monroe has in the passing game, but it does feel like they go to him a lot. They rely heavily on running back Christian Ponte, rightfully so, who's been a hoss in that Rebels backfield all season long. And on the flip side, when you look at Ruston, everybody talks about Ahmad Hudson, but Malcolm Keyshawn and Josiah Morgan have both been really explosive in the passing game. Sam Hartwell, as a first-year quarterback for Ruston, has done a good job managing football games. And this West Monroe defense is really physical. And everybody kind of alludes to the offense and the rushing attack, but these teams have all had to rely on different ways to win, and that's why we're in this predicament where it's a 4-way tie right now for first place in that incredible district. Smoltz Lilly is really solid outside linebacker, defensive end, Maddox Cobb and Brody Thurman as well for this West Monroe defense. Really good players. I'm really fascinated to see if this West Monroe defense can try to slow down this Ruston attack. We know not many teams have been able to do it, and when they have, it's been sparing. So it's a really fun matchup to see these two finally go toe-to-toe.
Yeah, it is going to be interesting to see how they handle Ahmad Hudson paired with that running attack of Powell, but you also have, like you mentioned, the receivers on the outside that you have to account for too. So it's going to be a chess match. I think this game is going to be much like every other game in 2-5A. Big plays, special teams, and also who can go on a run or who can slow down someone going on a run. You look back at these games, the Ash Ruston game, Ash hits, 3 straight touchdown drives within a 3 or 4 minute period. The Ruston Neville game, Ruston does it to Neville where they just go on a spurt. Who can get one of those? And if it's happening, who can stop that momentum and flip it back on its head? So very interesting matchup there. It's going to be a great football game, maybe the first of 2 that we see these two teams play this year. Elsewhere in District 2-5A, the other game that is pitting 2 3-1 teams in that district. You have the number 2 power-rated team as of now in Division I Select, Alexandria, traveling to the number 3 Division I non-select. That's a mouthful. Team in Neville. Neville, this is outside of the implications for district. Neville wins. They're going to be more than likely at home throughout the playoffs. Ash, same way. Ash in that bracket with Carr and all of the Catholic League. So that is going to that bracket. Both of these brackets are very deep. But Ash, for my money, in this district has been the most complete team all year long. They can score a lot of points. They come in averaging 45, just a little bit over 45 points a game. They do it running the football with Kason Williams, and they have Noble Williams back. They can throw it. Alex Fontenot, a junior wide receiver, he had a big catch for a touchdown against Ruston. And then their quarterback, junior Carson Sellers, they kind of feel like the most balanced and most complete team out of this group.
Yeah, without a doubt, Alexandria, every time we see their numbers, it's a very, very balanced attack. kind of reminds you of Destrehan down here, how they can run the football, throw the football, really whatever's working better for them that night. I think they kind of let the game, dictate which one they're going to lean more towards. Dave, it feels like defensively, these two teams of that district probably have played the best defense, it feels like. And both of these teams super battle tested. I mean, Neville being the number 3 at 6-3 kind of tells you everything you need to know about the schedule they've played, right? And so it's going to be a heck of a matchup. I love to see this Ash offense versus Coach Collins's 4-2-5, very defensive variety that he usually brings to the table. I know he's going to have a great game plan for him, but this would be, if Neville pulled this one off, this would be 3 straight unbelievable victories to close out the season. They'd have a ton of momentum going into the playoffs.
And there's been so many times where it's felt like people have tried to write Neville off. They had that really tight win versus Sterlington, which kind of goes untalked about. We didn't even really discuss that one on the show. Sterlington got a onside kick, as we talked to Coach Collins about the other week, and they ended up still holding on for that win. But this defense for Neville is a really solid unit. And I'll say this, it's difficult when looking at, I think for North Louisiana in general, I think that's fair to say, that when you look at defense, a lot of times you're like, man, it's just so much offense, and where's the defense? But the offenses really can be that good. And to Cass's point, this district specifically is so momentum heavy. It feels like at any given moment a team can go, it feels like they're dead in the water, down 21-0, and then they score 35 unanswered. Look, Alexandria, it feels like they could be the best team in the state at certain points in time. Their only loss is to West Monroe, obviously. They really like to go turbo offensively. It's really a fun offense to watch when they're clicking. A guy we haven't talked a ton about is Alex Fontenot at receiver. A huge playmaker for that offense, can really bust the game open, as well as, Jakiron Griffin, who's a big-time receiver. But on Neville's side, man, they got some receivers. Everybody talks about Zaylin Young, but I talked to Coach Collins about Imad Sledge, a really big-time receiver for them. Desi Bird, another big playmaker. And they got a pair of running backs that can break open a football game in Jarvis Blackston and Jamarian Robertson. So both teams have playmakers on all over the field. Both teams have really physical defenses. We know they got 2 commits on Neville's side, D1 commits, and then they got a ton of guys on Ash's side that are all juniors guys. Jared Bayonne is a guy who's getting a ton of offers and getting a bunch of looks. Xavier White's a senior, but, man, he flies to the football, is really been impressive this season. And Bryson Phoenix is a guy who's really come onto the scene this year, has really been impressive, gotten a ton of looks and visits. On both sides of the football, there's a fun matchup. There's a fun X's and O's game, right? So I'm really excited to see how this one goes down.
No, it is. And I feel like I think it's only fitting that these 4 teams are all playing each other in week 10. It's kind of, exemplary of what this district is. But when we're talking about this district, the amount of talent that is up there, especially these 4 teams specifically, when you look at the offer list, it's not just 1 or 2 guys on one side of the ball. It's guys at each level on both sides of the football. And when you pair that with the type of coaching staffs that they have up there, it makes for not just exciting matchups, but great football, like just really clean football. And it's been fun to follow. I'm almost kind of, upset that we don't have a lot of these intra-district matchups anymore, but with Neville, Ruston, and West Monroe all being on the same side or in the same bracket, it's possible we see these teams play each other again, and then Ash will move on over to the select side and see what happens from there. Of note, though,
before we move
one more on this game. Game last year, Ash won 42-16. Like that was shocking. So let's see if they can maybe do that again.
Again, such a fascinating district, and hopefully, it sounded like Coach Collins even said, like, we plan on playing these guys, regardless of what happens. Yeah. I have a feeling, guys. I mean, think about all the matchups we've had this season, last season. Like, I can't see us going a season. I hope not, at least a season without these teams matching up. I really hope not. But before we move on, again, follow, share, like, subscribe. Again, please, we appreciate the support that we've gotten, but please go ahead and share. Follow us and all that good stuff. Again, we appreciate the support we've gotten, and Again, we love doing it, but we'd love to continue to grow our audience. So please help us do that. And follow us on Facebook. We need to get to 100 followers,
There we
please.
go.
So we can stream
A few
on
more
Facebook.
days. A few more days we'll be on Facebook. We
Yes,
made it.
hopefully.
Look, Mom, we made it. All right, we'll go down. We'll come back a little bit closer to where we are down here in South Louisiana, but another game for all intents and purposes. I know it would create a three-way tie or something like that in district, but a district title esque matchup. The number 1 seed in Division II Select, St. Charles, is traveling to the number 6 seed in defending Division II Select state champions, the Shaw Eagles. Lance, you mentioned this earlier about a few other power ratings, I think with Neville, but Shaw sitting at 6-3. They're number 6 seed in division. So that speaks to the schedule that they've played. This St. Charles team, man, I know we've talked about them a lot, but it still maybe kind of feels like they're flying under the radar after the season they had last year. I don't know how many people dismissed them, but it was the growing pains they went through. They're on the other side of that, and it's paying off. And this looks like a vintage, typical, what you would expect St. Charles Comet football team to look like, led by quarterback Landry LeBlanc and running back Skylar Edwards. And that defense, led by Brooks Monica at linebacker, is vintage Comet defense. This Shaw team, the schedule that they played early on was just absolutely ridiculous. They lose to the St. Augustine and Jamboree, but then they lose to Carr. They beat LCA. They force LCA into 6 interceptions. They drop one. They get shut out last week by Bell Chase. So you know that they cannot wait to get back on the field and prove that last week was a fluke and get themselves rolling for another state title run.
That's exactly what I was going to say. I think the worst thing that could have happened to St. Charles was Shaw losing last week. You know, you're going to get a very motivated Shaw football team. We know those coaches really at both of these schools, but especially at Shaw, some of our close friends. I've been around those guys after a loss. They're having a great week of practice this week, I can promise you. And so I'm expecting Shaw to have, a great showing. Saturday, this feels like 2 great defenses. It feels like the team that creates the most turnovers is going to be the team that wins. When you mentioned the LCA victory, Shaw might have the best win in Louisiana. Yeah. With their win over LCA. It's hard to argue it at this point. And so, but when they did it, how'd they do it? They did it through turnovers. They created a ton of turnovers. And so, I think, last week their offense struggled. They got shut out by Bell Chase. The best way to help your offense is create some points on the defensive side, create some short field. So, I think this is going to be all about the defenses, who creates more turnovers.
Cass hit on a point about Landry LeBlanc. Landry LeBlanc has really been a catalyst for that offense. We know Skylar Edwards, rightfully so, behind that offensive line, which does deserve a lot of credit. The offensive line doesn't get a lot of love from anywhere, but this offensive line for St. Charles, not the biggest, not the fastest, not the strongest, but it's the Comet football way. They consistently go against bigger teams like Bell Chase, for example, who, Bartholomew up front is a massive young man. They still found a way to run the football effectively. But LeBlanc's ability to pass the football was really on display in that Bell Chase team. So it gives defenses another dimension to think about. And on the other side, though, we've seen what Shaw can do against the pass game, right? We've seen them pick off a football 6 times against arguably one of the best passers in the state in that Lafayette Christian offense. So looking at Shaw, though, Alan Shaw at quarterback, he's going to have a big game for this team. The offense is going to have to go through him. He's going to have to make sure he, as Lance said, they have to hold on to the football. Because the St. Charles defense, I've said this before, it's like an extension of the offense. How many times have we looked up guys against Dunham? They scored 2 defensive touchdowns. Against other, they pick off passes, they force fumbles, they give the offense short field. And this is an offense that might not light up the scoreboard, but they maintain ball control, they kill the clock, and they make the game very short for their opponent. So if the Comets' offense stays on the field, if Shaw's defense can't get them off, I think it's going to be a tough night for Shaw. But we've seen Shaw play a ton of opponents. As good as St. Charles' schedule is, Shaw has played the best team in the state with Carr on their schedule. So I think it's going to be fascinating to see these two go at it yet again for district title on the line.
Yes, Shaw has seen who everyone thinks, believes, and probably knows is the best team in the state in Carr. And they've also seen which might just be the second best team in the state in LCA. One other note on this Shaw team, again, knowing the schedule they played, they've been shut out 3 times this year. They got shut out. They've been shut out by Carr. They were shut out by Rummel. They were shut out by Belchase. So this offense, they need to find some type of consistency, but the defense can keep them in the game. So very, very interesting matchup. St. Charles is going to play defense. St. Charles is going to be well coached, and this is going to be a fun game. Again, another game that we just might see again in the playoffs. So with these 2 teams in the Division II Select bracket. In 5A, down in the Catholic League, we've got maybe the toughest back-to-back games anyone has faced all year, with John Curtis coming off of a loss to Carr, facing or hosting St. Aug. You got to go Carr, St. Aug back-to-back. That is that's a daunting task. St. Aug comes in offensively, averaging 44, almost 45 points a game. But Sean Coulon at quarterback, Lance talked about him on Sunday after seeing him on Saturday. The way that he runs that offense with the weapons that he has is extremely impressive. But I think their defense has maybe been overshadowed by how explosive their offense is. But their defense is really good as well. It's Curtis team that's at quarterback for them in London Pageant, they showed the ability to throw the football and push the football down the field and be explosive. Can they create enough explosive plays against this St. Aug defense to not just keep them in the game, but to go win the game?
Carr's been so good. It feels like this second place game is almost the most exciting one of the season, right? And so these 2 teams are going to be great. I think, we've seen both of these teams up close. I think this is going to be a very high-scoring football game. I think that we've seen St. Aug struggle a little bit stopping the run. Obviously, you got to be able to stop the run against John Curtis, and so I think John Curtis is going to have their way in the run game and at the line of scrimmage. I think Gavin Leday and Jacoby Boudreaux, the running backs, are set for big days in the running game for Curtis. On the flip side, I think St. Aug, they're also going to score a lot of points. I think Sean Curtis' team has given up quite a few points, more than we're used to seeing from a John Curtis defense. And I was ultra impressed by Sean Coulon, the quarterback from St. Aug. Doesn't matter what your X's and O's are, he figured out a way to beat you. Even when he was 3rd and 18 against Holy Cross, he used his legs, broke out of the pocket, found his talented receivers down the field. He felt unstoppable. He felt very similar to watching John Johnson at Carr. He really did. And so I think I'm very impressed with both of these offenses, and I think it's going to be a high-scoring game.
And Miguel Whitley and him have a great relationship, the wide receiver quarterback duo. I said coming into the season, I felt like they were one of the better quarterback wide receiver combinations in the state, and I think that's lived up to the billing. Yeah. They just seem to be on the same page. To Lance's point, when the pocket breaks down, he's evading. He knows he's going to have number 8 down the field. And that's not to mention Raquan Williams, who's also a really elite threat. We saw him come up with a big play, and I'm blanking on his first name, but the other receiver, Bennett. Man, Cass, he kind of came out of nowhere too. All of a sudden in the third, Miguel Whitley left the game in the fourth quarter, but Bennett lit it up in the third quarter. He had a great quarter of play and kind of like the second half. Yeah, like he kind of carried that passing game in the second half. So also Sire Gilmore at safety came up with a bunch of big plays. He's going to have to make some big plays, but also Ty Dominic up front. We know that Curtis has a very physical attack. That mesh point is in the line of scrimmage. So when they go to hand off the football or go with that veer option, it is inside the line of scrimmage, a yard up the field. So if you're not playing the football, if you're not playing your assignment, then you're in trouble. This 4-4 defensive St. Aug has a chance to beat it based off of personnel, based off of the way that they want to play. They like to put a lot of linebackers on the field. I think that bodes well. However, Curtis has guys on the outside too, right, Lance? We watched this team play. DJ Horton on the outside is a big playmaker for this offense. We know that this offense can pass the football, And their defense can step up and make plays too. Jules Tapp made a big interception against Holy Cross in that ball game and took it the other way. PJ Mackion, junior safety, has an offer from Florida, and Nichols is a big playmaker. Like, they've got talent at the defensive back position, and we know that's what St. Aug might try to come out and do to try to expose that defense a bit. But this is going to be a tough defense to go against with this John Curtis team. I know Lance has set that as to be an offensive game, and it very well could be. But if the offense gets a little too hot for St. Aug, Curtis is going to run the football, and they're going to try to melt the clock. And the question is, can St. Aug get off the field when they need to and put their offense back on the field?
I think that's going to be the key right there. Is if St. Aug can score quickly and kind of turn it into a track meet, can Curtis, while also holding the football and keeping the time of possession in their favor, can they also score to keep up? And I think that's going to be a key. Also, and we talked about this for Curtis going into the Carr game, showing the passing game and being able, they're not going to go out there and rely on the passing game, but make it a weapon to be respected. I think if they can do that against St. Aug, they have a chance to put up a lot of points. This game also big, but these teams are 5 and 6 in the power rankings right now. And depending on how it shakes out, and I'll be honest, I don't like looking at power rankings as a coach because I don't really understand them. I just like, if you win, it takes care of it themselves. But somebody's going to be on Carr's bracket, on Carr's side of the bracket, and that this may go a long way in determining who has to play Carr in possibly a quarterfinal or semifinal, and who doesn't. So another big game aside from the district standings. Down in 1A, I think this is your team too here, Jason St. Edmund team, the Blue Jays, the Fighting Blue Jays. All they do is score a whole lot of points. They come in the number 8 seed in Division 4 Select. They travel to Westminster Christian of Opelousas. They are the number 1 seed in Division 4 Select. Westminster Christian is 9-0. St. Edmund 8-1. St. Edmund comes in averaging 53 points a game, giving up close to 20 points a game. Westminster has been absolutely dominant all year long. 9-0, like I said, offensively averaging 43 points a game, giving up just under 10 points a game. This St. Edmund's offense is going to have their work cut out for them behind quarterback Nathan Zonbreaker going up against this Westminster defense.
Yeah, this is another situation where St. Edmund, they need to go earn this bye. They're sitting at the 8th seed here, so great opportunity for these guys to go earn their way into the second round of the playoffs. It'd be a huge win over Westminster. I think the main thing to think about here is both of these teams haven't been in many close games. Like, this will probably be a close game. You can see the spreads. They're both scoring a ton of points. They're barely giving up any points. It just speaks to, they've been in a lot of blowout wins, and so I think this is a matchup that as coaches you really want in week 10, because as you get into the playoffs, you're going to have to win close games. And so win or lose, you learn a lot from this matchup as you approach the playoffs. Like you said, St. Edmund, they score a ton of points. This will definitely be the best defense that they face at Westminster, who's only given up 9 points per game. And be at a quarterback on the St. Edmund side, Nathan Zonbreaker, 1,300 yards, 14 touchdowns. He's 6'4". That's like 8'4", Jason said.
There you go. That's I don't make the rules. That's just the math. That's the way it works. I don't make the rules. Lance, you played. We were having that conversation the other day, guys. Go look up. Lance
was 7'5", 7.
Well, yeah,
was.
Look, Lance in the group chat sent this picture, guys. Dude was a tank, man.
Yep.
6'1", 200 pounds, man. I'll tell you what. I would have ducked out the way. Although I would have been on a bench, it wouldn't have mattered. But come on now. But looking at this matchup seriously, when you look at St. Edmunds, they had a tight win over Catholic Point Capee a few weeks ago in overtime. It was a 54-52 ball game, and that was, I believe, I'm shooting off the cuff here, but I believe that was their first win over that team in 9 years. So that's a monumental win, and when you win a game like that, you play with a lot of confidence. The St. Edmund team has gone under the radar. They feel like Dubois in the backfield is a big playmaking running back as well. Their defense does enough to get the job done. This Westminster Christian team lights up the scoreboard. Stephen George has really done an impressive job at quarterback for this football team, catapulting this offense, but their defense has been really impressive. Westminster Christian hasn't been in a tight game to my knowledge since they played Sacred Heart earlier in the year, which has an exceptional defense. I don't know, guys. I would expect a lot of points in this game. And again, it's St. Edmund is playing for a lot here. They're playing for that bye. And I think we mentioned at the top of the show, but if not, the top seed all the way to the Dome is the home team. So this is a lot more important than just a bye. This is potentially playing every single game at home if you're Westminster Christian. So for them, this is a big opportunity, especially when you have the other teams in this Division 4 bracket. You have Ouachita Christian, who's in this bracket. You have Riverside, Southern Lab. So this is a heavy bracket. And to be able to at least claim home field and make these teams travel to you, that'd be a big win.
It would. And you can't – I hate playing the transitive property game, but Catholic Point Coupee put up 50 on St. Edmunds a week or two ago. Westminster Christian only allowed 28 to those guys. Westminster Christian also has shut out their last two opponents. They've 63-0 and 62-0. They've given up 7 or less points in 6 games this year. So St. Edmunds offense, we know they put up a lot of points, and we're going to find out just how good they are this week when they face this defensive Westminster Christian.
Before we move forward, again, follow, share, like, subscribe. Again, we appreciate everybody's support. Again, continue to help it grow, and go follow our page, Talking Ball Y'all, on Facebook, so we can add that as well to the stream. Again, also want to thank Varsity Sports Now for allowing us to stream online with them all year as well. So please like, share, follow, subscribe.
In 2A, down in New Orleans, this is a game that we touched on Sunday a little bit, but number 6 in Division 3 Select Newman travels all the way down to South Plaque. South Plaque is the number 2 seed in Division 4 non-select. This is for the district championship. This Newman team, I hate to say struggled early, but they were just trying to find their way early. They seem to have found it behind quarterback, running back, Mr. Everything, one of the best all-around football players in the area and in the state, Jake Randall, along with that slew of receivers that he has. They travel to a very talented South Plaque team. I know Lance, Jason, I don't know if you called this game with Lance last year, but Lance was extremely impressed with South Plaque. I think it's going to be much of the same. These two teams are not in the same playoff bracket, so this is the one time that we'll get to see them this year. But both playing South Plaque, the 2 seed, playing to keep home field throughout the playoffs. Newman trying to fight, scratch, and claw their way. Obviously, the higher seed they get, if they get in the top 4, they'll be able to host at least 3 rounds of the playoffs. So a big game in South Plaque.
Yeah, you said it. I was there last year. This was a really fun game to watch. South Plaque rolled up with like 24 players, and 18 of them were absolute animals. I mean, they were very impressive.
What about the other 6?
Yeah, they were young. they were growing. So, but yeah, they were very impressive. Coach Feet at South Plaque does a great job. Very confident, and you can just see how he just breathes life and confidence into his group. Last year, Newman just had a little bit too much, and that's kind of how I feel like it'll probably play out again this year. I think Newman, both of these teams are very talented at the skill positions. South Plaque, they'll have guys going both ways at every single position. Newman, of course, will play some guys both ways, but not quite to that extent. And so, over the course of the game, third, fourth quarter last year, Newman kind of was able to just wear on them. And so, some of the talented skill guys that Newman has there, like I had mentioned on the last show, I think, in the long run, I think Newman probably finds a way to get this one done. But like you said, this is a huge opportunity for both of these teams to gain some home field advantage. South Plaque, probably one of the best home field advantages in the state because they're close to nobody. I mean, it's like a minimum hour and a half drive for anybody to get there.
No one has ever accidentally gone to South Plaque.
So yeah, I mean, this is definitely one I'll be looking for the score to see how this one plays out.
No, they just had the return trip from somebody accidentally going
That's
somewhere
right.
else, right?
That's
So,
right.
but looking at this game, Lance, I like South Plaque a lot. I like this team a lot. You mentioned having seen them last year. They return a bunch of guys, and namely, you have a fifth-year quarterback in Rod Parker. That's right, a fifth-year senior quarterback. He plays some linebacker as well. Dean Ancolade, fifth-year starter. Like they got fifth-year starters on this team. They have the experience. Dean Alcalade's been a guy that plays linebacker, running back for them, kind of does it all. Ramonte Jackson, kind of a do-it-everything guy as a second-year freshman who's been starting, and then Josh Bartholomew, who's a 4-year starter for this team. Like they have experience, so they've already kind of seen Newman in the past, and maybe they feel like this offense isn't as versatile without Eli Friend. However, we know the amount of weapons on this Newman team makes him extremely explosive. Hendricks Hill is a really incredible receiver. He's going to, again, continue to grow in attention, and rightfully so, along with those guys, George Loop and Charles Wilson. And then, of course, you have AJ Abdul and AJ Yunusa. Good grief. Yunusa, who, again, basketball guy, but only a sophomore, but really does a great job at linebacker. And, of course, I can't pronounce his name, and Lance has to correct me because that's what we do on Friday nights. But, this Newman team has really found themselves. So this will be a fun one to watch, and more so for momentum for Newman, I think, moving in and also, like, they could use that home bye because this is a deep Division III. We know LCA is the front runner, but any given week you can catch a team. And even when you're granted a home game, as we know last year, you're not guaranteed to win. So at least having that home game would be a big win for this team.
Yeah, no, definitely a big momentum builder possibility, especially for, like you said, a team like Newman who's seemed to kind of figure some things out. And if they can get hot, and I hate saying get hot because it makes it seem like they're not that good, but they are. But they start playing their best ball now. They made this might be the year. This might be the year that they can get into the playoffs, get a good draw, and see what happens. Back up, we go from South Plaque, which is what did Lance say, close to nowhere. That is accurate. At the bottom of the state, and we go all the way up to the offensive capital of the world in District 1, 5A for undefeated and number 2 in Division 1 non-select Parkway, traveling to Evangel. Evangel comes in as it stands now as the number 12 seed or 12 power rated team in Division 1 select. They're 7-2. Their 2 losses are to 2 of the probably top 4 teams in the state, in Neville by 1 point in week 1 and to LCA by 2 just last week. This game is I know we said this about the LCA Evangel game last week, but I feel a little more confident saying this one is going to be high scoring. With these 2 offenses, Parkway and Evangel, both come in averaging both exactly 51.9 points a game, giving up exactly 27.8 points a game, according to our stats.
That's correct stats.
Okay.
At least according to what I found.
Okay.
The stat guy double checked it, and it was accurate. So unless I'm wrong, which I might be.
Shout out to the stat guy.
Yeah, that's he's awesome. I believe it. But this is Parkway has not played outside of district, obviously, has not played the schedule that Evangel has. But Parkway has done exactly what you think they would do to that schedule, and they just put up points on everybody. This is a huge game for them. Obviously, the top 2 seeds do not have to leave home. So Parkway can solidify that. They're at home through Dome. Evangel, I don't know if they can get into a top 8 and get a bye, but obviously the higher you are, the better draw you're going to get. So a big game for Evangel as well. Aside from this is also for the district championship.
Yeah, you got to think that Evangel would make a nice little jump if they beat a team with 9 wins, Yeah,
so I'm shocked that they're down there at 12 right now. I thought they'd be a little bit higher.
Guys, when you got to remember, man, when they're so deep, here's the thing, right? We always talk about, man, the split. But, like, when you look at both brackets, select and non-select, they feel so deep. Like
Yeah.
both division, especially both Division I brackets. So understandably so, though, when you look at the teams they're behind, you got to remember 4A teams. It's important to note there are 4A teams that play in Division I select that might get a bit of a bump. They get play up points when they play 5A schools. So
No, they
Turling's
stopped
Catholic,
that.
Turling's
They stopped
Catholic is.
that.
But they did stop that.
Yeah, they stopped
Okay.
that. Mhm.
So look, Tioga's in that mix,
Speaking
though.
of gaming the system, that's how you game the system right there. But they stopped it.
But look, 4A teams that are above them right now: St. Thomas More, Tioga, and Turling's Catholic. So those 4 teams, despite being 4A schools, are above them. So that kind of adds to it.
It's definitely interesting. Like, it's very
Yeah.
interesting when you look at the way it breaks out. It's hard to wrap your brain around. But anyway, I think this Parkway team has put up a ton of points. They have not seen a defense as good as Evangel. I think what went, really under the radar last week would have been how good Evangel's defense played to slow down that LCA offense. They only gave up 23 points, I think, to LCA. And so this Evangel defense is probably an underrated unit across the state. And then, of course, Pop Houston, we tune in just to watch one of his highlights every single week, right? So we know he's going to put up some big numbers. But yeah, take it from there, Jason.
Yeah, I love the receivers for this Evangel team too. And I think Damari Drake in the backfield for that Evangel team is severely underrated. Again, I say it over and over, man, but I love watching this guy play at linebacker. I think he's really special on both sides of football, but especially linebacker. But John Casey, DeMarcus Evans, Charlie Abraham, I mean, really solid receivers for this team. And the defense is no slouch either, as you guys mentioned. Bennett Spear has been a big playmaker for this defense, has really been their big tackle guy, and he's going to have to be a big part of this game, right? Parkway has so many explosive offensive weapons. Caleb Williams at quarterback, who was hurt last year, has kind of been full speed all year, has really done a great job operating that offense. Antonio Gladney might be one of the most underrated weapons in the state. And you have Gary Burney, who's a 6'4" receiver, and he's been making big plays the entire year. You want to toss the ball up, he's your go-to guy. And freshman A.J. Johnson has really been a spark plug in that backfield. On the other side for Parkway, J.P. McGovern has been a big player at defensive back for that team, along with Mark Copenhagen, who plays outside linebacker, plays safety. They move him around a lot, on a team full of athletes, is a really solid return man for this team as well. I really think this Parkway offense is explosive, but as you guys mentioned, have they played a defense as dangerous and physical as Evangel? No. But we've seen Evangel, even playing in that district, playing some games that you felt like maybe could be more of a defensive struggle, and it still turns into just a shootout. So, but Evangel's had some impressive defensive performances in that district, considering how many points have been scored. So we'll see. I think the big matchup is Parkway's offense, Evangel's defense.
Yeah, no, and I think the best, even though it was in a loss, but their best performance defensively was last week, not just because they held LCA to 23, 24, whatever it was, but just the team they did it against. Like that, and then just seeing that a week ago, I think gives them an upper hand with Parkway. But as most of the matchups that are in this district, I think it's less about whose defense can make stops and whose offense can just continue to score. I think they go into the game knowing they're going to have to score almost every time they touch the football. So whose offense can just score? So it'd be interesting to see, but I feel confident saying it's going to be some points scored up in Shreveport. Back down in the New Orleans area, a big game, maybe not so much. I believe this game is also probably for the district championship, Chalmette and Salmon. But power ratings wise, this game is huge. In Division I non-select, both of these teams are in Division I non-select. Chalmette is 25, Salmon is 24. The Salmon offense, led by DeJohn Howard, the quarterback, is really explosive. They put up a lot of points all year long. The Chalmette defense, I feel like they may be one of the better units in the area. We're just kind of waiting for them to put it all together. It almost feels to me like Chalmette, after the run they made last year, it's almost like they were waiting for this time of year to almost turn it on. They lose a heartbreaker to Slidell in overtime last week. this is a big-time game. I don't know that the loser is necessarily out of the playoffs. I don't think you want to chance it. But if you win, you're in for sure. And if you lose, things could get dicey.
Yeah, Salmon's a pretty balanced attack. They're more run heavy than pass, though. And so in there, I think I like the matchup with Chalmette because these linebackers of Chalmette are so good. Tyree Darrensburg, the middle linebacker, going to South Al. And then Jaden Ellis, he was super impressive when we saw him, as well as Tim Taylor up front on a D line. And so I think back to when me and Jason saw the Chalmette team against Holy Cross, one of them maybe more impressive deals was Keyron Smith didn't get a whole lot going against the Chalmette defense, and that's because of how good they are in the box, how fast they are. I mean, Jaden Ellis kid he was all over the place, just a great tackler, and the D-line does a good job of freeing up these linebackers, And so I think Salmon's going to have to find ways to throw the football in order to win this football game.
Spot on. I agree. I think this Chalmette team in the box is really, really a solid group. Of course, they do have some guys in the secondary that are some solid playmakers as well, but Salmon's offense kind of has shown the ability to do it all. And I think when you look ultimately at this game, Salmon is going to have to find a way to pass the football because I think Salmon's defense is going to shut down the run at some point and try to pin their ears back and come after the rush. The big question is, can Chalmette's offense stay on the field? Can they continue to find offense behind Breeze Wilson? Can Dana Antoine make some big plays in the pass game as well at receiver for this offense? But ultimately, I think this is going to come down to, can Chalmette force Salmon into predictable situations, and can they shut down the pass?
Yeah, no, the Chalmette defense, we're so high on them all year long, and it's not like they've played poorly. I just think maybe we thought we'd see a little bit more for them. It kind of seems like now's the time to do it. They're so experienced. They've got their quarterback Breeze Wilson. Some of the plays that he's made all year long, but specifically last week against Slidell, he made a throw to send the game into overtime on an out route that, like, the ball's thrown anywhere else, it's a pick. Probably a pick six. So he's played really well for this team. I'd like to see them kind of get off to a quick start and kind of smother that Salmon offense on Friday night. Jason, you want to put in your little plug? Is that what you're doing here?
Oh yeah, go ahead and follow. Yeah, follow, share, like, subscribe. Make sure you continue to support the show, and please again also follow us on Facebook. Follow our page at Talking Ball, y'all. And again, we're looking to get to 100. Once we get to 100, we can also stream there. So we appreciate the support, and again, continue to tune in.
Well, we'll be all over the place once we're on Facebook. We're going to do ESPN. Is that next? We
can make our own ESPN. We can make Louisiana's SPN if you want to.
There you go. There you go. That sounds good. I want to go to this one game because I think it's a rivalry in the same city, but also for what they play for. Covington and St. Paul's. Does anyone know what they play for?
I'm going to get. Is it a brown jug?
The little brown jug.
Oh, yeah, look at that.
Little brown, not sure what's in it, no clue. But they play for the little brown jug. Covington goes to St. Paul's. Covington is a 26 seed in Division I non-select. 28 teams make the playoffs in that bracket, so it goes without saying. It's a huge game for Covington. St. Paul's is the 10 seed in Division I select. As it stands now, they would be matched up with Tioga. So that's where they're at now. I don't know if they can get into the top 8, get a bye, but huge game, not just for rivalry purposes, but this Covington team, they've kind of been up and down and very inconsistent as they're trying to find some stuff on offense. Their defense is extremely talented. Their front seven, maybe we talk about Chalmette's front seven, Covington's front seven, just as good. It feels like that they just need to put it all together. They're at risk of missing the playoffs. With the St. Paul's team, it's Cody Corrales, and he's rushed for 100 yards 9 straight games. They know who they are. They know their identity, and they're going to pound the ball and be physical with you and run it right at you. So if Covington can slow that down, they have a chance, but Covington needs this one in a bad way.
Yeah, Covington was a team that we were high on early in the season. Fusel, the quarterback, throws a beautiful ball. They've just been so up and down. It's really hard to understand. It's rare to be 10 weeks in and not understand what the team is, And so for that reason, it almost feels like Covington is going to win this game because that would make no sense, And so, but
no, it's the way it feels. You're right.
Yeah.
It's crazy how much talent they have and how high we were on them early in the season. Now they have to go on the road and beat, the leader of that district just to make the playoffs.
Yeah, St. Paul's has guys all over the field. Covington's defense, I really like the pieces that they have on this defense. I've said it before. I really like Tremarcus Scott up front. Max Guy has been an absolute freak up front for this defense. Also, Jawan Brock, big-time receiver, Texas State commit. He's a big playmaker. Jake Pompa, Matt Fusel, as you guys have talked about before. I like the weapons on this team. However, St. Paul's, man, their offense has been really dynamic, but also really heavy behind Cody Corrales. Experienced on that defense. The linebacker group, especially for the St. Paul's team, has been really impressive with, Brett West and Dylan Post. I think Covington is going to, again, you're going to have to find a way to stay on the field offensively, and that defense is going to have to find a way to shut down Cody Corrales. If you can't shut down Cody Corrales, then you're going to be in for a long night. So ultimately, that's what it's going to come down to. Can Tremarcus Scott, Max Guy, this defense of Covington slow down this rushing attack, and can they get the ball to their playmakers offensively? Jacob Pompa and Juwan Brock.
Yeah, very, very interesting matchup there. Lance, you're right. It makes no sense for Covington to win, so why not? Let's see. But they may just go out and do just that. We'll take it some quick hitters here around the state. I like to start in your neck of the woods, Jason, with Thibodaux and Destrehan. This is such an intriguing matchup. Obviously, we know what Destrehan is. We know what they have, how good they are. This Thibodaux team, 8-1 on the year. Their only losses to Hahnville. They have an opportunity for not just a huge upset in terms of beating Destrehan, but to get a huge jump in the power ratings. They come in currently ranked 11th in Division I non-select. Destrehan is 6th in Division I non-select. But the biggest test of the year for Thibodaux, Destrehan's been there, done that. They've, we know what they're made of. They're battle tested, but it could be a huge program-defining win for Thibodaux.
I'm not sure there's a whole lot of believers in the Thibodaux team just yet, but if they go on the road and beat Destrehan, there'll be a lot of believers at that point. So what a great opportunity for Thibodaux going into the playoffs.
Yeah, I'm really excited to see this one. Being a River Parish guy, it's fun to see Thibodaux. We've talked so many years. I called games out for a radio station out in Thibodaux, and I got to watch them a lot. I got to watch when Kyron Lacey was out there playing at Thibodaux, as well as Mason. Big offensive lineman for LSU. I'm blanking on the name.
Smith, huh? Isn't it Smith?
I thought it was Mason Smith. Yeah. Yes, I got to watch him play as a freshman. They had Terrebonne, but yeah, we always kind of said man, Thibodaux feels like they could be so good and they just couldn't get the job done. It feels like Narcisse has been the guy to kind of put that team together. Adams, running back, has been really impressive. He's going to have a big day and try to outduel Malachi Dabney on the other side, along with all those weapons. And again, guys, defensive player for that team as well, who I didn't realize was on that team until recently. Ryan Montague was a transfer from St. Aug, really big playmaker for that defense. So I think it's going to be a fun one to watch, along with all those talented receivers at Destrehan. So it's going to be a fun one because of everything on the line. And Terrebonne trying to prove we are worth it, we are worthy, and try to. I don't know. They definitely can't get a bye, but again, they're trying to sustain themselves a higher seed to make sure they get a better pull for their home game.
And can Malachi Dabney score 6 touchdowns again? I think he's this is week 3 that in a row that he scored at least 6.
It feels that way.
Right?
I don't know if that 2 weeks ago he scored 6. This past week he scored 7.
7.
So
8.
I think there's a gap in between those.
Oh.
So
7,
like
8,
You just
9.
did something, Lance. You just did something that the kids do
6,
now with the
I'm about to say,
6-7.
please
Yeah.
don't.
Yeah,
Good
there we go.
job.
Please don't.
I have no idea what it means, but that's what I thought about when I saw it. Anywhere else that y'all want to go?
Yeah, I was gonna look at Karen Crow at Acadiana. Karen Crow coming off of a 70-point defeat. So can those guys turn around there? I mean, they've played a great schedule. So gotta think they'll come out ready to play. Acadiana, believe this would cap off a 7-game win streak to end the season. I think I remember talking about that early in the year as a 0-3 start, finish 7-3. Not quite the normal season there in Acadiana, but what a way to finish.
Yeah, and Chance Babineau going to have to be a big part of that game, along with a sophomore quarterback, one of the top-rated quarterbacks in the state in that class, Carson Gursey, who does a great job operating that Bears offense. So again, they're going to have a task ahead of them in taking on that Wreck and Ram defense. They've been really improved. They took down a Southside team that scored 70 against Karen Crow just a week ago. So I think it'll be a really interesting one to watch.
These two teams too. They're both in Division One select bracket. Karen Crow's the 15 seed currently. Acadiana the 17 seed. It's possible we see these two teams play 2 weeks in a row.
It's happened before.
Yeah,
It happened before. St. Charles had to play Lutcher when my brother was in high school back-to-back weeks. I mean, what are the odds of that team winning twice in a row, though? Like that feels like that'd be a really monumental task.
Yep.
Yes, no doubt.
How about Hawnville at Lakeshore? What a random Week 10 non-district matchup there. But Hawnville going on the road. Lakeshore could keep that number 2 seed, possibly even jump up. I mean, this would be a huge PowerPoint victory for both of these teams, beating a 7-win team or an 8-win team. Hawnville also could risk falling out of home field advantage altogether in that first round, being at the 15 seed. So that's two teams that have had really good seasons. I think surprising. Good programs, but surprising in some ways. And so that's a really fun non-district Week 10 matchup.
Yeah, that is. I think that screams. Not many other people had buys Week 10 in district, so these are the only two teams that we could find. Maybe that's tough, but it is a kudos to these coaching staffs for scheduling this game. That's not an easy trek. It's not an easy trip from Hawnville to get to Lakeshore, and it's not going to be an easy game either.
And I'll go ahead and hit these few. I have to touch them all, guys. I think we talk consistently about, man, it's been a really big week. But this week it feels like the most loaded one we've had yet. Somehow I feel like it's almost like clickbait saying that, but it's just true. Marksville has been very quiet all year, very quiet, 8-1 football team. Got a guy who played basketball last year, started playing football this year, has been incredible at receiver. The 6'2" basketball player, Armani Benjamin. Devin Lavallee at quarterback has been really impressive against a Bunkie team that took a big loss to Gina a few weeks ago. Again, it felt like a big loss, but Zion Lee might be one of the best overall athletes in the state. I'm excited to see that one go down. I think it'll be a fun one. Another big one is, again, another really underrated matchup, guys. Division I non-select Northwood of Shreveport, a team that hosted Destrehan in round 1 of the playoffs just a year ago. This running back for this team, Kyron Johnson, 5'9", 160, not the biggest guy, but lightning quick, can light up a scoreboard, can put up yards. This offense has put up 47.2 points a game. Defense gives up 15 points, but they're taking on a Loyola Prep team, as Bryce Restovich has been phenomenal. Ty Walsworth at receiver, as well as Mason Drake at running back. Like, they've got guys all over the field, along with Alex Mitchell, who's been a major player for that defense, forcing turnovers, making plays, along with Thomas Golsey, 4 interceptions. So I know this Loyola Prep team relies on turnovers, but their offense has been what they hang their hat on. It's going to be fascinating to see these two offenses go at it, but also can Northwood Shreveport's defense slow down this Madison Prep offense?
It's a good one.
This is a massive one, guys. Huge rivalry. Vanderbilt Catholic, who's unbeaten on the year, takes on Edie White. Edie White was a very option-heavy offense, but last year they mixed it up. They kind of they ran a lot of gun. They ran it really well. For Vanderbilt Catholic, guy we haven't talked a ton about, Ethan Henney at quarterback has been lighting it up. Really been a solid passer for this football team, giving his playmaker opportunities. Zabin Moses and Logan Himmel in the secondary for Vanderbilt Catholic have done a great job making plays. On the other side, Edie White, Grant Barbara, who feels like he's been quarterback for the
He's been there for
Cardinals.
at least 8 years.
Yeah. 8-year senior. It feels like, but again, it does an incredible job operating that offense along with Carter Douglas and Charlie Diedrich might be. Talk about linebackers, man, guys, all-state, all-district guy, really impressive playmaker. And I've got to talk about this one, guys. I've been waiting to talk about this one for weeks. I'm waiting to talk about these teams for weeks. This might be one of the most underrated games of the season. This is for a district title. Tioga, who's been flying under the radar, along with Franklin Parish. Franklin Parish, I don't know their other loss. I know they lost a game to Calvary Baptist. Tioga's offense is loaded with talent. Case Malone has passed for what feels like 1,200 yards on the season. Kenny Pontier, the running back, does a great job running the football. And, of course, Kervin Johnson, the recent LSU commit. They're going against a Franklin Parish team that might be one of the most Division I heavy teams in the state. Desire and Ellis, LSU commit at quarterback, likely translates to defensive back for that offense, along with Trey Martin, who is a guy who's reeling in the SEC offers this season. He's only a junior, explosive playmaker, and up front they got two big boys. You guys will like this one. Tavion Bell, 6'3", 255, Texas State commit, and Chris Addison, 6'5", 235, defensive end, Michigan State commit. They are a big, physical, nasty defensive front, and they're going to have to play physical against this Tioga team that likes to mix it up. They run and throw the ball really well, and I'm done with my spiel. But, again, I think one of the most underrated weeks, and that's not even mentioned the Santa Maud Denham Springs game, right? So, again, another explosive offenses in Babin and Denham Springs with Brenton Paul and the Golson brothers, like Goldman brothers. Like, I'm really excited to see this one go down, too.
Home field advantage on the line there for that round one.
Huge.
Big matchup, big win.
District title on the line for Denham Springs as well. East Ascension and Denham Springs are tied right now at 4-1. So I don't know the last time either of these teams won a district title. It's a big game for both Denham Springs and Santa Maud, but also East Ascension in their game.
All right, Jason, what is Northwood Shreveport's mascot?
Falcons.
Jeez, this guy.
He knows.
Wow.
Hey, but Tioga could be someone that could throw an absolute wrench into the Division I Division I select playoff bracket. If they can, traveling to Tioga is not the easiest thing to do in the world. Somebody's going to have to go to them. If they could, seed wise, it may not be an upset if they win in the first round, but if they could get a win, and that could throw some things upside down. Also, Franklin Parish's head coach, the night of their homecoming, which I was 3 or 4 weeks ago, wore suit and tie, or maybe even a tuxedo, because his daughter was on the homecoming court. So nice. I'm all in. What's the Franklin Parish High School mascot?
Patriots.
Oh,
Patriots.
That was too easy.
Can't stop this guy.
Tioga?
Indians.
Yeah, that's easy. Okay, that's all I got.
But look, taking a look at the power ratings though, I think there's some interesting things that could happen when you look at teams on the outskirts. I think Division I Select has pretty much solidified, but we kind of talked about Division I non-select. North Shore sitting on the outskirts along with Barb, and they're both. So Barb is at. Barb might be a far off shot to get in, but they're looking to try to push out Natchitoches Central, an offense with Owen Smith at quarterback, really explosive. Right. We talked about that team earlier in the season, guys. And we said they're going to pull off some wins that maybe some teams don't expect them to. Natchitoches Central has some offensive weapons. I really like this football team. Got the 5 wins this year after only getting 2, I believe, last year. It'll be an interesting story for them to get in the playoffs.
Yeah, it's always interesting to see how that Division II, 5A, where those teams land in the power rankings as well as the Catholic League teams, because you just know there's some really good teams that are going to end up around that 18 to 21 spot that probably belong in the top 10.
Yeah, well, one of them could be Acadiana.
Yep.
Acadiana's right now 17.
Exactly.
Like, you don't want to see those guys in the first round.
Mhm.
I mean, you don't want to see them ever, but
7-game win streak.
yeah.
That's who you draw the first round.
Well, and they made a change at
played
quarterback too,
football,
though. So like they made a change at quarterback, and since then, along with getting Trevion Gallion back, I hope I didn't butcher your name. Sorry if I did, but I know he was a transfer, came from Turlings Catholic. He only started playing week 6, guys, and since then they've only won every single game. So, it's
also
interesting to see what
the two districts that we probably talked about the most this year, 2-5A and the Catholic League, as it stands right now, all teams in both of those districts would be in the playoffs. So in the Catholic League, it would be Warren Easton. They're the last team in right now in Division I Select. Pineville is 21st in Division I Select. And everyone else is they may be everyone else having a home game and 2-5A at least. So that's pretty interesting. But no, next time we do this, we'll have a playoff bracket on Sunday. So we'll get into that a little bit. I know on next Tuesday we'll take a deep dive into the playoff bracket. So thank y'all for following along. Like, share, subscribe. Go join us on Facebook. Tell a friend to do the whole deal. This has been a blast, and we're just getting started because playoffs are going to be just as much fun. I can't wait to the next 5 weeks. Going to be fun to follow these teams as they try to take their path to the Superdome. But next Sunday, we will recap some Week 10 stuff, and we will talk about the bracket as it comes out. Tuesday, we'll take a deep dive into all of the brackets to preview round 1. Thank y'all for watching so much. Talking ball, y'all, for Jason, Lance, I am Cass. We will see y'all again on Sunday night to talk about some playoff football in Louisiana.